Hello, everyone, and welcome to another mental health chat. My name is Janelle Falcon. I'm a behavioral health specialist with Baptist Health in the Community Health Department. Please stay connected with us through our website and continue to join our free lifestyle and educational programs. Today, we're going to be debunking a few common misconceptions that I'm frequently asked about, and if I'm being honest, tend to overhear people talking about when it comes to mental health. But before we get started, we're going to go over a few ground rules that help us all feel comfortable sharing. Let's keep in mind that this is not a therapy session. Please be respectful of one another. We also want to keep in mind that we all come from different walks of life, so we're all going to have different opinions and perspectives that help us see this world in a very different way than one another. And just keep an open mind. Stay curious, so that you can take something out of today's presentation. Now, let's get into it. The first myth that we're going to debunk is mental illness is rare. So, the reality is that nearly 1 in 5 American adults will experience a mental health concern in any given year. That's about 21% of our population. So now just think about your friend group. Chances are you know at least 5 people. That means that chances are that one person close to you is either struggling or has struggled before. And even more than that, 1 in 24 American adults, so about 4.1% of our population, is currently struggling with a serious mental illness. And lastly, 1 in 12 American adults, that's about 8.5% of our population, has a diagnosable substance use disorder. Now, if you think about your friend group and some of your family, chances are you can identify about 12 people. It's really eye-opening to think that at least one person close to you is likely struggling with a substance use disorder. These statistics alone tell us how common mental health conditions and struggles are. Chances are we already know somebody that's either struggling or has struggled, and we either didn't know or they were too scared to tell us, or maybe we were fortunate enough to know and help support them. Hopefully, through talking about it, people no longer have to suffer in silence, and we continue to dispel these myths and combat the stigma. Next up is that children don't experience mental illness. Now let's see why this is a myth. So the truth is that the CDC has found that nearly 1 in 5 children has a diagnosable mental or emotional disorder. Even more surprising than that is half of all mental health disorders show their first signs before a person turns 14 years old. So that's pretty young. Unfortunately, only about 20% of those kids actually go on to receive care. And that can be for so many reasons, right? Due to a lack of access to providers, financial reasons, lack of insurance, possibly even due to the stigma around treatment, depending on what the family believes or cultural reasons. Some common mental health disorders in kids are ADHD, anxiety disorders, and even depression. More so is that what can be common is we'll see multiple disorders happening at once, right? So for example, is that if a kid is struggling with an anxiety disorder, it can also be common that we'll see depression happening at the same time. So don't be too alarmed. I can't emphasize enough how important early intervention is for long-term success. So if you're concerned that maybe your child is struggling with their mental health or something else, have them seen by a professional, have them evaluated, and just figure out what next steps are. It can be concerning for you as a parent, it could be scary, but it's also important to get them in the right place and get them help as early as possible. Now, next up, what we have is mental illness is not real. It's just a character flaw. People should just snap out of it. Why is this a myth? So many mental health conditions are very real, right? And I know that there's a lot happening on social media that can make it very confusing rather. But there's so many factors that play into mental health conditions, whether that be due to life experiences, family history, biological factors, things like genetics, physical illness, injury, brain chemistry, or any combination of any of those. But it's also important to know that our environment can have a positive influence when support and nurturing are available for children and even adults. And one of the more common ones that I hear, and I'm obviously having to bunk way too often, is people who experience mental illness are violent. Such a myth. So, no matter how untrue it feels, because of all the news stories we read and hear about, the truth of the matter is that most people with mental illness are not violent. The reality is that only 3 to 5% of violent acts can be attributed to individuals living with a serious mental illness. More shocking is that people with severe mental illnesses are over 10 times more likely, that's 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crimes than the general population. And I know that we're often more exposed to the other side of the story. We hear how people with mental health concerns are perpetrators. However, that's not what our statistics are showing us. And it's actually the flip side that's true. And so next up is therapy doesn't work. And to that I say, that's a myth. And so many reasons for that, right? But treatment really varies depending on the person and the diagnosis. However, studies show that people struggling with mental illness can get better and many do recovery. But the first step to getting better is asking for help. Research has shown us that on average, it takes a person 11 years to seek treatment from the first time that they see a symptom or notice a symptom. The key is to seek out mental health professionals and start treatment early. Otherwise, it's like a snowball effect. It starts off with just feeling a little anxious in the beginning or feeling a little sad in the beginning, and then it gradually gets worse over time, where eventually it could very well feel bigger than you. Mental health is health. Just like you wouldn't expect someone with a physical condition to just snap out of it, like someone breaking a bone or having diabetes, you can't expect someone to just snap their fingers and feel better if they're struggling with depression or anxiety or substance use. There is hope for those people that are struggling. Therapy does work. And our last myth is that prevention is impossible. And to that I say, knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is extremely powerful. The more that you know, the better position you'll be in to take care of yourself, and not only yourself, but the people that you love around you, whether that's your kids, your partner, your family, your friends. You'll be able to make better decisions for yourself based on the knowledge that you've gained, and likely be able to notice more of those warning signs for yourself and again, the people around you. So continue to join us for future mental health chats and other free community health programs to gain more knowledge and be your healthiest self. And as always, we have some resources. So we have the Recovery Village at Baptist Health, Baptist Healthcare on Demand, Baptist Health Support Groups, 211, Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, as well as National Alliance on Mental Illness. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, goodbye.